And I have to tell you, she is a completely changed woman. I asked her, I said, what got into you? And she says,
Tantra. Did you know the vulva can be stimulated in 10 different directions?
No, I had no idea. As funny as that is now, the time I felt crushed because I should have been the man who opened her up that way, not some dude she just met. That was the first time that Tantra kicked my ass, but it would not be the last time either. A few months go by, I meet this flight attendant in Seattle and we start to date. We date for about a month, and then she invites me to take a week-long Tantra workshop with her in Hawaii. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. She says, well, there is a catch. You need to go as my boyfriend, not somebody I see on the weekends. I need a commitment. I tell the truth, I just broke up with somebody, I can't commit. And she says,
fine, I'll take the class by myself.
Yeah, she's not by herself for very long. On the second day of class, she meets another student, and they practice Tantra on each other for 5 days straight. How do I know this? Well, I give her a call, and I said, so honey, how you enjoying your Tantra workshop? And she says,
oh, exalted. The best sex I've ever had. Met a German man named Hogart, and I'm moving to New Zealand with him. I'll never go back to having sex that old way again. Did you know that the vulva can be stimulated in 10 different directions?
Yeah, I think I heard that somewhere. Tantra kicks my ass for a second time. A couple months go by. I'm at this seminar. I meet this really charming woman. We go out to dinner together. I ask her what she does for a living. She tells me that she's an intimacy coach. She actually teaches Tantra. She not only teaches Tantra, she goes off to India and takes a month-long workshop in the tantric arts. And I have to tell you, for the first time in my life, I'm on a date with a beautiful woman, and I'm actually afraid that I might have sex. I'm afraid we'd be in bed together and she'd come up with something like,
did you know that the vulva can be stimulated in 10 different cosmic dimensions?
Fortunately, it did not go there, but we became like really good friends. And so I said to her, I think this Tantra thing keeps showing up in my life. The universe is trying to tell me something. So she invites me to read a book. I read this book, and then I get the courage to take a class, and then I do all this so I can learn to be technically better at sex. And Tantra definitely helps with that. But there's all this other stuff about breathing and energy and God. Well, maybe that was part of my problem. I never brought God into the bed with myself. Oh God. Pretty much my whole life, I had this concept of God as being like this pissed off old grandpa in the sky. Then as I got older, I thought, if I'm going to bother to believe in God, I'm going to make him a groovy, loving, creative God like Bob Marley. And I started to see God that way everywhere in my life except in the bedroom. There God showed up like this pissed off, judgmental grandpa. So I closed the door on God in that part of my life until I began to study Tantra. I began to see sex and relationships in a whole new light. Tantra is about achieving union with the divine, and that sexual energy is just a very potent access point for doing that. It's not like treating a woman like a goddess, it's like treating her as an embodiment of the goddess with a capital G. In Tantra, they have all these names of reverence for the genitals. They call the penis the jade shaft and the scepter of light. Gotta admit, that is so much nicer than pecker, prick, dick, or cock. They call the vagina the precious gateway, the golden doorway, and the flower heart. The clitoris is called the jewel in the crown. And then you know what? I actually had a revelation. And here's what it is. I believe that some of this violence towards women problem we have in our culture, stems from how we teach children about sex. And it goes way beyond just the labels we have for our private parts. Growing up, I had absolutely no positive role models around sex. I don't know any guys who did. I grew up in a culture that had all these shall nots around sex, but not very many shall do's. And I didn't grow up in a place that had statues of gods and goddesses and divine beings all expressing their sacred sexuality. No, I had my mom saying stuff like,
Sex is dirty before marriage, and it's sacred after marriage. So keep your pecker in your pants until you're married. End of story.
let me ask you a question. Is it possible that if we teach boys that sex is dirty, profane, and degrading, we may be inadvertently raising generation after generation of men who gravitate towards sex that many would consider dirty, profane, and degrading? I mean, what if we taught boys that sex was sacred, that it was both hot and holy? What if there's a time just before puberty when the fathers and the mentors and the uncles got together and they told boys something like this? Son, that stirring inside you is the masculine side of God awakening within you. That desire to procreate is also the desire to create, to build your body, to excel in a sport, to lead, to achieve. It is not dirty hormones to be denied, but nothing short of the masculine energies of the universe awakening in you and as you and through you. And someday, you will meet your opposite and your complement. And she's going to test you in ways you can't possibly imagine. But if you can remain open to her, she will bring you gifts beyond bounty. I didn't get that speech growing up as a kid. I don't know any boys who did. But I like to think if I had, it would have changed how I treated women in my life and how I approached sexuality. I believe that if we teach boys that sex is sacred, they will not grow up to become men who will use sex as a weapon against women or themselves. You know, at the beginning, I thought Tantra was trying to kick my ass. I now see it was just trying to wake my ass up. Well, I'm awake. I still have a long ways to go. But thank God, I'm awake.